Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about the ignominious burial of an entire strand of law by the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay. Humphrey's executor. You've been hearing that case name, which dates back to 1935 for months. Let me double back now and put it all in context, because what it stands for is an area of law that is now dead, and in a really, in a shadow docket way. So Humphrey's executor, dead, shadow docket. By now, these are terms everyone understands. Look, generations of law students learned that Congress can impose limitations on a president's ability to fire heads of certain agencies. And that was all that they could do. They couldn't keep a president from firing altogether, but they could say, you need a reason. You can't just do this for political caprice. Why not? Because we want a measure of political independence for these agencies. We want to emphasize expertise. We want them to not be jumping and kowtowing to whatever the less knowledgeable executive branch says. We want them to be good government types focusing on their areas of knowledge, not worrying over their shoulder about the White House. It's been a fabulously successful, I wouldn't even call it experiment. The entire sort of alphabet soup of the New Deal came of age being able to be meritocratic and to do what seemed to be right because of this very doctrine. Okay. Now, fast forward to about 2010. Well, actually, no, because even before then, there were certain conservatives who are jumping for joy basically today, who were saying, what's this? How can you tell a president, this is an executive agency, that the president can't just fire whenever and forever what reason he feels like it? That's like we have three branches of government. This is like a headless fourth branch. How the hell does that work? And those theoretical and largely conservative critiques just coexisted with the law, which, as I say, generations and generations. Here's what the Congress can do. Here's what it has done. Here's the case that says it can do it. Humphrey's executor, 1935, big case. Okay, class, tomorrow we'll be talking about the appointments clause. Okay, but as it stuck in the craw of certain conservatives, and as the kind of Federalist Society came to control, you had in the Roberts Court people chafing big time at this, and they began to trim back and trim back. And the way they trimmed back was not by completely lopping off this area of law, but rather by saying, if this agency that Congress has said has a measure of independence, again, the sole measure is you couldn't fire somebody except for cause. They did something bad in their, they robbed a bank, but not just that, real malfeasance in their work, you could remove them. But you needed something like that. Okay. But the Supreme Court, little by little, said, nah, that agency, all the power is in a single person. That's just too much power. Strike it down. Separation of powers violation. You can't constrain the executive this way. Okay, here's this other agency. That's a 7-person board. That should be, said that they exercise too much down the middle prosecutorial power. That's just too much power to give them without the president being able to fire them. Boom. So we're taking that away. And the main thing that persisted, with a little asterisk here that I should have dropped at the top, but you guys know this by now. There's a fight remaining about the Fed. That will happen. But the Humphrey's executor rule, named for Humphrey's executor, is basically dead. And when did it die? You would never know it because it's a close to unmarked grave. It died Monday, September 22nd. How did it die? The Supreme Court had a case asking whether it was okay and having the government serve up the question. This is in the matter of the Rebecca Kelly Slaughter, who is on absolute all fours. If Humphrey's executor is good law, then she can't have been removed as they wanted to do it. And so that case was brought, and the courts below ruled against them, saying, no, there's a case here. Humphrey's executor. It's very clear. You can't fire them. Emergency, Supreme Court, overrule Humphrey's executor. Okay. And now the stage and table was completely set for the Supreme Court to get briefs and have oral argument on the question whether Humphrey's executor, pretty damn big precedent that I say generations learned, should be overruled. But the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, when it says we'll take the case, we'll decide, also drops this little sentence, half sentence. The order of the district court for the District of Columbia is stayed. And that means that today, Tuesday, September 23rd, the order from the district court saying you may not fire the commissioner of the FTC, that's dead on the current law, you can't fire them, has been erased, meaning today the administration can fire them. Now, how can that be? Because Humphrey's executor is still law, and the law, that they're going to consider whether to keep it law. Mirabile dictu or whatever. That's the magic, you could put it, of the shadow docket. So you have a really hard-hitting dissent from Justice Kagan saying, guys, the law is the law. You're doing this by the shadow docket really stinks. We know that they did it. We know that it doesn't go under either of your distinctions that you've tried to make about, is it a one-person agency or how much prosecutorial power they exercise. Under existing law, says Kagan, what Congress said goes, as this court unanimously decided nearly a century ago in Humphrey's executor. So the majority may be raring to overrule it, but until the deed is done, Humphreys controls and prevents the majority from giving the president the unlimited removal power Congress denied him, or prevents it in the sense that the law prevents it, but it doesn't prevent 6 members of the Supreme Court from doing it. So to really put a finer point on it, Kagan says, until the deed is done, Humphreys controls, prevents the majority from giving the president the unlimited removal power Congress denied him, because the majorities stay. That little 3 words saying we stay what the district court did below, because the majorities stay, does just that. I respectfully dissent. Our emergency docket should never be used, as it has been this year, to permit what our own precedent bars. Still more, it should not be used, as it also has been, to transfer government authority from Congress to the president, which is precisely what happened here, right? Congress, until yesterday, or you could say even now, except it's, dead man walking, has the power to tell the president you can't just do it willy-nilly, except it doesn't anymore. And if you were trying to, look in the cemetery for where and when exactly this happened, you would have to dust it off and see a teeny little grave marker for September 22nd via the shadow docket. Simply granting that stay says, administration, go ahead, violate Humphrey's executor, And by the way, we're going to hear Humphrey's executor and overrule it anyway, see in about a year. So as I say, an ignominious burial for a big case that is, really kind of just a landmark that students have studied for generations, no more. And it's the way that it was buried that really gives pause. No, it's not simply that you need to have a funeral service and pallbearers when a precedent is overruled, but you need and you should give it the due of a oral argument and briefs and all that. Ain't done now. You're now going to have almost a sort of strange performative oral argument about should we overrule Humphrey's executor when everybody knows they've done it anyway. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.